And finally, I'm going to turn to Jim. Jim's our Australian New South Wales co-op member. It's sometimes easier to get from there to here than it is from anywhere else in the world to here. So delighted to see you, Jim.
Delighted to be here.
And let's just start, because you've kind of shown us that a problem we didn't know existed till we heard from you, and then you see it's a global problem, and now you're successfully tackling that global problem. But tell us at the core, what's standard protocol right now for first responders attending an incident where the solar panels involved?
Good question, Stuart. And the simple answer is right now there is no standard operating procedure. It's a massive problem. So if you can imagine when a first responder turns up to an incident, their first protocol is to save savable life. And if there's no risk to life, make safe. So they turn up, they typically will isolate electricity, isolate gas, and then they can offensively tackle an incident and bring it under control. With solar panels, with structures featuring solar, as long as they're exposed to light, it's producing potentially lethal amounts of DC electricity, already referred to as the DC danger zone. So it's a identified global risk. And so they're forced to just treat defensive, protect the perimeter, let it burn, because they won't risk their lives to save a structure. And probably further to that, there's an assumption with the product that it's only useful at incidents caused by the solar panels. But in fact, it's really any incident at a property or a structure featuring solar panels. So for every incident caused by solar panels, there's probably another 10 incidents where the solar panels weren't the ignition point, but they become involved and become dangerous.
So you've been working, we saw it on your pitch, with some of the most leading prominent names in the world, fire brigades across the world, to name but a few. What have they been saying about PVSTOP? And can you give us a bit of an indication how they're using the product right now?
Right, so our first major adopter was actually the London Fire Brigade, the oldest and one of the largest fire departments in the world. So that was fantastic validation for us. Since that time we've got on, we now are supplying the New York Fire Department, the largest fire department in the US, which is super exciting. And just recently our distributor in Singapore picked up the contract for the Singapore Civil Defence Force. So we're on the roll.
Wow, that's awesome, isn't it? Absolutely awesome. So you talked a little bit about the potential hurdles that your competitors to go through. How important is first mover advantage, and can you sustain that?
Yes, in a word. We've got two really good defensible moats, both the good and the bad. The really cool thing about what we do is we're the only physical barrier product in the world that solves this problem. The negative is we're the only company in the world solving this problem. So the regulatory hurdles were massive. It took us 4 years to navigate those certification issues. But at the end of that, we've now got an ISO standard, so we can now sell our product anywhere in the world. So even if our competitor was to try and develop a competing product, the regulatory hurdles would take them a minimum of 2 to 3 years to navigate. So we're out there actively in the market before they can even get started. And even if they do navigate that, the second moat for us is our patents. The patents on our technology method have been granted in 22 of the world's largest solar panel countries. So if they want to take us on, we can then got that to back us up.
Brilliant.
Hopefully,
awesome.
And hopefully we'll have the money to get a good lawyer who can help us defend that.
When's a good lawyer when you need one? Final question for this session. Your little allusion to the AI-enabled drone. You tell us about that step and what that might be opening up.
Yeah, well, look, an important part of having developed the product is customer feedback. And the extinguisher vessels are very good, pragmatic, practical in a number of circumstances. But for high-rise, dangerous to access, or large scale, it's not necessarily ideal. So we listened to that feedback and we used it to create our drone delivery system. And especially for the large scale, we're actually in Singapore right now. They're developing a lot of floating solar farms. Access is really difficult. So for examples like that, the drone is absolutely perfect. There's also this little project going on in the Northern Territory, Sun Cable, 123 square kilometres of panels. Hard to keep that safe, but I've got it. Hey, contact me.
We might have a connection for you. Awesome.